Esports presents the Night Racing League Sports Car Championship. And hello everybody and welcome to race number 2 of the exhibition season for the Night Racing League Sports Car Championship. We are at the Circuit de Barcelona to Catalunya for 90 minutes today and the last warm-up for the season. We have more cars than we had at Spa, but it's still not a full field. 20 cars signed up for the championship so far. We're hoping to get 50 when the races kick off for real at Silverstone in 2 weeks. These exhibition races are being run to finalize the rules and to make sure everything's running perfectly by the time we start for real, and also to get these broadcasts up and running. You'll notice some new features this week if you watched the Spa broadcast 2 weeks ago, so everything getting in place for the championship. So as I said, we have 11 cars, so let's have a look at the grid. On pole this week, Lars Watzek at the 31 LMP2 Dallara. A 129.918, the only driver under the 130s. Keith Rainey outside pole, about a second slower. Dean Ellico and JF Godin in the field this week. Just nipping last race winner Paul Seeley by a tenth. From first to fifth on the grid for the Canadian. Jaden Monathan-Garin, long-time Night Racing League driver, is also here in the LMP2s. He will start through pit lane. Connor Seidel, the Spa winner, is on pole alongside Kevin Hensel. Mark Sonnen, great to have a Sonnen on the grid again. Everybody remembers Julian and the things he's done in the Night Racing League. He will start third. John Nielsen and Chris Thompson, teammates from EILMS, will start 4th and 5th. That's your starting grid here for Barcelona, and we should be getting the cars gridded up soon. So until then, let's have a look at the schedule. As I said, we'll be kicking off at Barcelona in 2 weeks' time for 90 minutes. Then it's Le Mans and Spa. Interlagos as we cross the pond, and then a special GTE-only race at Mid-Ohio before 3 2-hours championship events to finish off the season, Sebring, Daytona, and Road America. If you want to be part of everything that's going on here, contact the administrators, or the easiest way is just go to the league section on iRacing and apply to the Night Racing League. As I said, we're here at Catalunya this week. There's the track map. We'll be using the old circuit. We've taken the chicane out. This is the historic circuit, and the drivers really prefer this, especially in the sports cars. And we'll be doing 90 minutes here today as we get ready for the cars to grid up. And here we go. That's Lars Watzek in the 31 on pole. Keith Rainey beside him. And Dean Ellico. What a battle It looks like Keith, Dean, and Paul Seeley are going to have, if Spa was any indication. And here you have JF Godin joining the field and getting right in amongst it. He's in that 74 you see on the outside of row 2. The GTE's just gridding up here. We're waiting for a few more. And there's your pole sitter in GTE, Connor Seidel. He won the exhibition race at Spa and has got himself placed to defend here and make it a 2 for 2, although it's going to be a tight scrap with Kevin Hensel, who is the last car to make it to the grid. There he is in the 94 Corvette C8R. Dallara P217s in the LMP class. All 5 GTE cars eligible, so whatever you like to race, you can enter it. Ford, Ferrari, Porsche, BMW, or the brand new C8R. The GTEs with a 15-second gap, just to keep them separated as Lars Watzig takes control of the field here. When the green lights go on, we are racing. And here we go for 90 minutes at Barcelona. Lars pulls to the outside. As we head into turn 1, it is Keith Rainey and Dean Ellico second and third, and a little loose there. As the GTEs get off, and it is Kevin Hensel who will lead the GTEs into turn number 1. JF Godin a little wide. And Paul Seeley will take 4th place in the LMPs. Back with our GTEs. Well, we're going to jump around a little bit. That's a 72 of the Spa race winner, Paul Seeley from Canada. And he has made a position up here in the early going into 4th place. As we come to the final 2 corners, you can see there's no chicane. This is the old circuit, the way we used to run it. And Lars Watzig will come around to lead lap number 1. The LMP class looks like it's going to be incredibly close in this series. As we said, less than 0.3 of a second separated 2nd through 5th in this field. As we go on board the 2nd place car of Keith Rainey. And a little bit of a gap forming. Lars, the only car under 130 in qualifying, a staggering 129. And he starts to stretch his legs here as everybody seats in. That's Jaden Monatham-Guerin, who started from pit road in the 777. Just now making his way up through the GTE field. And he will have just the race leader of Kevin Hensel in front of him before he rejoins the back end of the LMPs. This is his first race in the series, wanting to shake down the car, another reason to have these exhibition races, and decided he would rather start from pit road today. And a good lead for Kevin. He's jumped out to a 2.25 second lead here as we complete the second lap. It will be great when we get all the GTE drivers up and running together in a fortnight. There goes Jaden as he will rejoin the back of the LMP field. You can see he's 28 seconds off the lead, but I don't think that's the point here today for him. It's about getting in laps, getting 90 minutes on the chassis, and getting himself ready for the season opener in 2 weeks. There's Dean Ellico in the 429. And you just wonder what these guys are going to throw at us today. We had 4 different race strategies in the LMP2 class at Spa 2 weeks ago. And this is a left front tire limited circuit. That tire takes a beating. It's not too bad temperature-wise here. It's about 30 degrees Celsius. But tire wear will be the biggest factor for these guys in both classes. And we'll see what pit strategies they're going to throw at us. Because it was a fascinating race. We only had 4 LMPs in the Spa race 2 weeks ago. And it was a fascinating race with 4 different pit strategies. And that is a battle for the lead in GTE as Connor Seidel. Hensel, I think, must have made a little bit of a mistake. Seidel has jumped on it. And as we come through the final 2 corners, the BMW race winner in Spa has taken the lead. It was a bit of a close start, and the and a late dive. I'm sure that wasn't a passing attempt, but just fighting that car on the brakes. As I was saying on the start, the inside lane went to the second qualifier, of course, because pole position is on the left side. And with the GTEs back 15 seconds, that gave Hensel a bit of an advantage, I think, when the green lights went on. But now the pole sitter is back on point. And we're starting to see representative lap times as we've already completed 4 laps in the LMPs. And we're in the low 131s. That was a 140.4 for Seidel last time around, and you could see it was a 43.1 for Hensel. So obviously there was a little bit of either a problem in the braking zone at the end of the back straightaway, but it closed that 2-second gap right up, and Seidel pounced on it. There you see Mark Sonnen in third in the background, ahead of John Nielsen. Kevin Thompson rounding out the Chris Thompson, rounding out the GTE field, is running about 9 seconds back of that leading 4. Riding the curbs, and you saw Kevin Hensel again loose on the back end of that car. We saw him fighting the brakes just after he got past, and I've got a feeling that's what happened to allow Seidel to get up in front. Maybe a little too much rear brake bias, or that car is very, very pointy, but after 5 laps, they should be up to temperature on the tires. We'll see how that plays out here as the race goes on. Quick look here, we're back with Dean Ellico running in third, 4.5 seconds off the lead as the LMPs have really sort of fallen into a 2-second gap between the top 4, 2 seconds between all of them, getting their tires seated in, getting their race pace set, and of course we don't know what the strategies are. Speaking of strategies, this is the first race as well where the GTEs are limited to a 75% fuel cell. We had the one-stop race at Spa, and with the fascinating pit strategies that we had in LMP2, it was decided to put smaller fuel cells in the GTE cars, so that will mean more pit stops, at least in the 2-hour races. They will be close to a one-stopper here as well in the 90-minute race. Those cars get close to 45 minutes on 75% fuel, so we'll be watching that as that rule change was put into effect for today, and looks like it will be in effect for the entire season. A 32 dead for Dean Ellico, 31.7 for the race leader. Seely closing in by a, well, not even a tenth really, 981 to 003. So pretty much the same pace for third and fourth there. Good to see everybody watching live. Hope you're enjoying the stream as we watch the GTE race leader Connor Seidel. And there you see the GTEs in the high 39s, and Hensel's starting to pull back a little bit. He's got that gap down to 1.2 seconds. And there's a look at Chris Thompson as he moves and gets out of the way of our LMP2 leader. Chris's first run in the Night Racing League. A lot of guys getting their feet wet here. If you want to join the league, it's a very structured league. We run it as a real racing series. Race week consists of 2-hour practices, and we have drivers from all over the world, as Seely coming through past the RSR there. You can already see the quality of driving here. It's a low incident point series. They have drive-thrus at 8x and then every 6x after that, so you are forced to drive as if you're in a real car. We had multiple drivers with 0x at Spa, which shows you the level, the quality of driving here. And the race weeks are very structured. We have practices on Wednesday, 2300 UTC for the North American drivers, and 1800 UTC on Thursdays for the European drivers. So 4 hours of official practice, and many of the members are running their own practices as well on top of that. I believe there was 8 or 9 hours of open practice for this event. And we had a bunch of drivers that aren't even here today, but everybody's certainly getting a lot of track time and setup work done, and we expect the same. But the league does run 4 hours of official practice as well as the race sessions. And it's all free to join, so come and fill up those 50 grid slots with us if you're an A licensed driver. And it's, of course, the other rule that keeps the racing close. There are lots of broadcasts on out there for all the top splits, but this is a mid-split series. I ratings initially, if you apply 1,300 to 3,000. and that keeps the competition close. Of course, we can make individual decisions based on applications. So if you want to race with us here in the Night Racing League, contact the administrators with a PM, or just apply to the league and they will contact you. This is race leader Lars Votzig, second place Keith Rainey, third place Dean Ellico in the 4:29. 5 seconds now cover the top three as we're running on lap number 9. Paul Seeley in fourth. As we've got GTEs now running by, that is John Nielsen in the 54 Corvette C8R. That gap is coming down as we go through traffic. See, Seeley has to wait for the main straight to get by that Corvette. But just that little run through one car, and you see the gap from second to third really coming down. These three, second, third, and fourth, have been so close. As they come up to Mark Sonnen, the Belgian in the number 3 Corvette C8R. We have all the cars except for the Ford GT represented so far by entrants. We're hoping to see all 5 as they are all eligible to race here. Oh, and a bump! First time we've seen that is Ellico misjudges the turn onto that straight. Certainly you can't go side by side into that, and Mark collects himself, got Seeley by. Don't see any visible damage on the number 3 car. But very, very unusual to see that. And as Lars Votzig comes by the Corvette of Kevin Hensel. And Hensel is off. He's locked those rears again. Oh! And that is a nasty ride over the sleeping policeman. And we can see damage on that Corvette. So, whoa, it's all happening here. 15 minutes into the race. As the second and third place cars now come by the 94, and he's dropped 10 seconds back from Connor Seidel here. As the two race leaders now together on circuit, Votzig putting Connor Seidel a lap down, the GTE leader and the LMP2 leader on the same picture. Well, just catching my breath, that was a bit of an exciting lap there. And now with all the fun, we're not sure what the front end of that Dallara looks like, but Seeley has now closed the gap on Ellico. Ellico was only a second behind Rainey at one point. He's now dropped back to his 2-second gap, and Seeley exactly 1 second behind the 429. And Hensel is coming into the pits. That was a nasty ride. And I think he's got some damage he wants to have the crew look at. You can see the pit times on the right-hand side as he drops down the field. The left number is how long since he triggered the pit lane entry, and the right number is how long he's been stopped in his pits. You can see it's his first pit stop with the 1, and his lap time says he's actually in the pits at the moment. So he's out of the pits. that was a very quick stop, 18.6 seconds. And he's going to come out in front of Chris Thompson. So he's going to keep 4th place. I'm finding it very hard to believe that he could have fixed all the damage in 18 seconds. But we're going to watch that car. We'll watch his lap times as he gets going again. As we're back up to the LMP2s, they are now past the GTE leader. And Seeley has really closed that gap down. He's starting to pick his pace up a little bit. Or he's just getting through traffic. The pace 32s, you can see Ellico was quicker last lap. They're crossing the line now. And yeah, 0.4 of a second. The 72 has pulled out of the 429. And we've got a battle here for 3rd place. I was going to say, as a concertina out of the hairpin there, but Seeley definitely dropping back a little bit. There's the corner that caused the issues for Ellico earlier as they take the kink onto that back straightaway. And Hensel is back in the pits. You can see up on the right-hand side of your screen. And we're hearing from pit road that there is under tray damage to that car, not surprisingly, and it may be something they cannot fix. So he's brought it back to the pits. There's Jeff Godin in his first race in the 74. As the Canadian contingent continues to grow. And it's a long pit stop in here. I'm wondering if Hensel is done. We're hearing from the pits that he may be done. They're trying to get this car fixed. But it is under tray damage, and I don't believe you can fix that. So we'll see what happens with the 94 Corvette. The only other car with any sort of issue was this one, the 429 of Dean Ellico. He seems to be okay and is starting to stretch that gap again to Seeley in 4th. Although the lap time's still pretty close, and in fact, Seeley did pull another 10th out of him. It's still 1 second between the two. That issue with Hensel has really kind of taken the a bite out of the GTE battle, unfortunately. As Seidel now with a 23-second lead over Mark Sonnen. It promotes Nielsen up to 3rd place. It's a 10-second gap between him and Sonnen, and then Chris Thompson sorting the car in the back. He's in 4th. There is Chris right there, just being overtaken by the LMP2 leader. Watzik looking very, very strong, and it immediately makes you think We saw Nathan Jew last race. He couldn't be here today. He had some school issues he had to take care of. He's writing a PhD. So, but he'll be back on the grid in 2 weeks' time at Silverstone, and we're going to have a very stout front of the grid in LMP2. It's just a close class. It's just a very, very competitive class. And if we get the full 18-car field, it's, boy, that'll be something to watch as Elico comes through turn number 2 around the Porsche. His car certainly seems to be okay. Seeley that time 0.4 slower than the American. So it doesn't seem to be any issues on the 429. Hensel still in the pits. They have not retired the car. And there's that gap, which is increasing by the corner all of a sudden, it seems. As we approach the 25-minute mark, we know these cars get about, it's over 35, maybe 38 minutes to a fuel cell. And we'll start to see what the strategies are. Back up front with Connor Seidel in the GTE car. That's Jaden Monathan-Guerin in the 6th place LMP2 car coming through. Not quite sure why the 23 car has a 25 on his rear bumper. We'll have to ask Connor that, find out what's going on there. As Jaden goes through in his first night racing league race in this car, and not doing a bad job at all. You can see he has pit times up there. Those aren't actually real. He started from pit lane. He has not made a pit stop. So he sat, after the race started, he sat in his pit box for 9.6 seconds and was off pit road 15.1 seconds after the green lights went on. So that's what those numbers are indicating. He's been, it says he's had a pit stop up there because he was in the pits during the race time. But we will find out very soon what the strategies are, and we'll see what the GTEs are doing with their limited fuel of 75% fuel cell. If they can make it on one stop here, or if they're going to have to do a splash and go, or if they, well, if they were going to do it on 3 equal runs, they'd be coming in very soon. Speaking of which, the 72 is in. Paul Seeley making an early stop. He had the race-winning strategy 2 weeks ago, so what is he doing here? Coming in at the end of lap 17. They can go further than that. They can do almost 25 laps on a fuel tank. So into the pits, the 72 car. And the first of the strategies being revealed here at Barcelona. This is your race leader, Lars Watzik, in the 31. And away he goes, no tires, fuel only. So it was obviously a short fill to start the race. He's going to come out just behind the GTE race leader, Connor Seidel, just now going into turn 1. So what was the plan there? Seeley on lighter fuel, unless they just decided to come in early. That didn't seem like something he would do, though. A lighter fuel, so that makes the lap times even a little more curious. You would think he'd have had the pace to get by Ellico. He was basically keeping up and even sliding back a little bit. So with a lighter fuel load, I'm not sure what that means. But we'll watch what happens when the top 3 come in. That's going to momentarily promote JF Godin to 4th. Jaden Monathan-Garin up to 5th. And with a 6.3 second lead now, this is Lars Watzik leading this man, Keith Rainey, in the 6. And if they're on full fuel, we should expect them, well, I would think sometime in the next 10 to 12 minutes. As Rainey gets himself past the 3rd place, the 54 of John Nielsen. There he is in the NSF Corvette C8R. Dean Ellico as well. Very consistent lap times from these LMPs. We're still in the mid-31s. Tires not an issue yet. As we approach the 1/3 mark of this 90-minute race. And into the pits is JF Godin. So he will be the second to blink. It's a 2-stop race any way you slice it for the LMPs. So maybe he is splitting this race 3 ways as he's in right at the 30-minute mark. Here's your race leader. Just getting by a GT car there. The gap came down a little bit. He has the gap to be careful. As the GTE leader, Connor Seidel, makes his way past Chris Thompson. Doing a great job as he gets up to speed here. Here's Rainey now coming by Mark Sonnen. And you can see back on clear track that gap just slipping back into the low 6-second range between Watzik and Rainey. Great run for Keith Rainey. I mean, he's now got 4.5 seconds almost on Ellico. He's looking very, very strong here. As Godin having a little bit of an issue there. He's just been in the pits. Here comes Dean Ellico with the I'm sorry sign. Let's see, and he's at the same corner of the track. Sonnen gets right out of the way this time. I laugh. It's very unlike Dean, and you may not see it again for the rest of the season, but it's funny that the next time around he would come up to Mark on exactly the same corner. As that incident, like any incident, we don't get many of them in a series of this caliber, but that incident is under review by the stewards. We'll find out what happens with that a little later. You can see Godin's pit stop 31.2 as he's rejoined the circuit, so 22 seconds for Seeley. That's a short fill as well. He started the race on short fuel, and he has taken short fuel there. So as we start to see a little more, it does take close to 32 seconds to fill these cars. There's a little smoke from Chris Thompson just up in front of our race leader. The unsponsored 66 car. We'll see if there's a big reveal coming later for the American. Well, livery reveal at Silverstone, that'd be something. We'll have to get on Chris about that. As coming around to complete lap number 22 is your race leader. Mid-31s, nice and comfortable. It's a heck of a pace to be nice and comfortable. But you can see there's your gap all the way back to Keith Rainey now. 6 seconds. It seems... It's funny, when it gets less than 6, it seems to grow to 6. And once it gets there, it seems to stay there. So a little bit of race management, and anytime you can manage a race, you're saving rubber, you're saving fuel. As another little off for the 74. So it... Oh, and another one. So something has gone amiss here for Godin since his pit stop. As far as we know, it was fuel only. Only stopped for 31.2 seconds. You don't see any damage on the car. He has not had any incidents. We just a couple of offs on this lap for whatever reason. So we'll monitor that situation as he has dropped behind Seeley now, who is, and he's coming into the pits. So this is clearly an unscheduled stop. He was only in the pits 2 laps ago. And we are hearing from pit road that JF is going to retire the car. There's something going on in the cockpit. What we're hearing is that he's not feeling well, so he's toughed it out for 35 minutes, but it's getting to a point where he's going to take his car off the circuit. He doesn't want to be in the way when he's not feeling well, and that's a shame. It'll put us down to 5 LMPs for the rest of the race. And the 74 has withdrawn. You see his gaps have disappeared. The car has been retired to the garage. Back up front with Lars Watzig in the 31. As we are very, very close, running on lap 24 here. We're saying we think these cars will get 25 laps to a stint. And just 1 corner behind the 6 of Keith Rainey. So we'll see if they should be able to go around one more time, but we'll see if anybody comes in a little early. Two full fuel runs and a splash and go would be the standard conventional way to do this. It really also would depend on whether or not these guys are going to take tires. The left front tire wear here is so high that that may be playing into the strategies. It maybe makes you think of why Seeley has started the race on light fuel, done a light fuel for his first pit stop. Maybe he's trying to time the stops based around the tire wear. So we'll see what happens when he comes back in again. But we are expecting the top 4 either this lap or next as they run the lap 25. Monathan Guerin in the 777, 11 seconds ahead of the Canadian, who has already made his first pit stop. Fast lap of the race is by your race leader, Lars Votzig. A 1:31.298 is his best lap. The GTEs in the same... Actually, the fast lap of the race, a 1:39.3 by Kevin Hensel, who is still in pit road as Lars Votzig does pit at the conclusion of lap 25. So we'll get to see what the race leader does here. Keith Rainey stays out and takes the lead. So a little better mileage, or... There goes Dean Ellico, also stays out. So Votzig coming in at least... Well, they're not going to get that much better fuel mileage. You got to think they're going to be in at the end of lap 26. And we'll check the fuel times for Votzig compared to Monathan Guerin. Or sorry, compared to JF Godin, who we believe had a full stop. You can see he's gone much past his 30.4 seconds as Monathan Guerin is in the pits behind him. So Votzig will return to the circuit in third place, but 30.4, that is fuel, no tires. And it's a full stint, so he's committed here to going... Boy, he's committed here to going pretty much, unless, no, it's not a short fill. That's a long way on tires if he's doing full fuel, 2 full fuel runs. Monathan Guerin in the pits, he is taking tires. This very much a test session for him. Started from pit road, so that makes sense. Ellico is in, as is Rainey, just in front of him. So we will see where this puts Seeley here in the 72. Where did his short fill put him? He was only about a second behind Ellico. Coming down the back straightaway now. Rainey is in the pit box getting filled. Ellico still not in his pit box. Here he is now. As Seeley comes through the final corners. We know the full fill is around 30 seconds. 30.4 exactly. Rainey, 35. No, Rainey is also taking. They're both taking tires. There you have it. So Seeley will take second place. He'll pass both of them. Rainey coming out now. Rear wheel spinning. That's good for the guys with the guns. So there you have it. We have 3 different pit strategies going on here. So exactly what happened in Spa. We've got Lars Votzig here, race leader, who has taken full fuel and no tires. Their strategy number 1, I would say the conventional strategy. Behind him, we have the 72 of Paul Seeley. He short-filled the car. Short-filled again with no tires. Looking to pretty much put this race into thirds, I would think. Then behind him, we have Keith Rainey and Dean Ellico, who have done a full fuel run, but taken tires. And what that means, as you can see from the gaps on the right-hand side, it is a 13-second gap from Seeley to Rainey. And Ellico has now dropped, 17 seconds behind Rainey. And here is Keith going by the Porsche of Chris Thompson. So there we have our first taste of the strategies for this race. We've got 3 of them going, and we'll see what happens It was the 72 who won out by getting track position. He's done it again here. We'll see if it works. The car's behind on fresh rubber, and they have been quicker through this entire race despite the light fuel load in the Canadian's car. So we'll see how quickly Keith can get that gap down. Here is Ellico just now going into the first turn. Nothing from the GTE cars. We expect them in the next, I would think, 3 to 5 minutes. I just get up to speed on the graphics up there. You can see red boxes now on the pit road times. That's just a comparison. We're watching Dean Ellico right now. You can see he was 1 minute 10 seconds in the pits. So anyone who had a quicker pit stop has red. You can see it just switched to green. We went to Lars Watzik. So he was better than those guys, so their pit times are green. That is Mark Sonnen, who's just had an off down at the end of the back straightaway. Did a 141.1 last time around. We're just wondering if he has any damage, lasting damage from that little tap he got as Chris Thompson makes his way into the pits for his first stop. But a 141.1, it's not really off his best. A 140.7 is his best lap time of the session. So I really don't think he's suffering. That may have just been a one-off that we just saw there. It's a 12-second gap now for Lars, double what he had over Keith Rainey, but it is also to a different driver. Rainey, taking tires, is now 23 seconds back of Watzik, who is still on his original race starting tires. He's not going to catch him at the same corner again. Unbelievable. And Sonnen right out of the way. Oh, brother. Just watching that gap up front as Thompson rejoins from the pits. 10.3 seconds now, Rainey to Seeley. So that's, it is clearly coming down. You can see the lap times of 30.6 last time around for the American. 32.3 as Seeley came across the line there. So a 1.7 second delta, that is not going to be sustainable. I'm not sure what the goal of the strategy was, but a 1.7 second gap is not going to cut it. Seeley's going to have to do something about these fresh tires. He's even going to be on very light fuel compared to that 6 car, as both race leaders come onto the front straight at the same time. Lars Watzik in the 31, and there is Connor Seidel in the 23 red BMW. Is he going to make this back-to-back wins as the BMW crackles into the first turn? Is he going to make this back-to-back wins in the exhibition season? His main competition sitting in the garage with a damaged under tray. I can't wait to have the full field assembled to see these guys. To be fair, we haven't had a real GTE race yet, and that's very unfortunate, as these are only exhibitions. But when we get the full field assembled, it's going to be something. And we've got a bunch of guys who are all going to be challenging for race wins. Mark Sonnen has made it into pit road. So he brings that number 3 Corvette in, and that is the second pit stop we're going to see here in the GTE class. There's a 94 of Kevin Hensel. Whether they're going to end up retiring that car or get it back out, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm hearing they're actually going to retire it. He's just he's staying and watching the race, is what we're told, which is good stuff. As we approach, we're past the halfway mark of this race, as race leader in the GTEs is in, and he's missed his pit box. Maybe a little unsighted by the 94 sitting there. And Sonnen is taking fuel and tires. Seidel is out. So he has beat the Corvette out of pit road. That is fuel only for the 23. There is Sonnen right behind him. Fuel, tires. I'm not sure if there was any optional damage he may have been getting sorted as well. Stationary time there, 1 minute and 7 seconds. And if you compare that to Chris Thompson, 53.6, which would also be fuel and tires. So we think definitely some damage from that run-in. Well, with the LMP of Dean Alico, and he's got that, but still a comfortable gap over that Porsche right there, which you see of Chris Thompson. So Sonnen, a nice comfortable podium position. As Nielsen is in the pits, there's the 54, so that'll be the final GTE car. And clearly, this will be a one-stop race for the GTEs, even with the smaller fuel cells. He's taking tires. That's what we wanted to wait and see. So the race leader, the only GTE car to not take tires on his pit stop. And, well, to be fair, the race leader in LMP also doing the same thing. Seeley, the other LMP car, also has not taken tires. So we'll see what happens on the second pit stops. You have to wonder, though, it's with the tire wear as high as it is on those LMPs, they all filled their cars, as we've got Sonnen going past Nielsen there for second place. Pass for position, as Nielsen has just come out of the pits. He's got cold tires. And that's going to promote the number 3 into second. And to finish my thought there, the only LMP that has not taken a full fuel stop is Seeley in second place. So what are these guys doing? I mean, you could always think they're going to stop. They're not going to run it dry. They will stop and just fill it up enough to get to the end. If they ran the fuel cells dry, it would be so late in the race, it would almost not be worth putting on new tires. So I'll have to wait and see what's going on here. As Nielsen is definitely not falling back from the Belgian here. As we could have a bit of a ding-dong here for second place in GTE, so that would be great. They're both on fresh rubber. The gap that Sonnen had before the pit stops was kind of eaten away by the damage repair he had to get done, so those cars running right together. As we look up at the race leader in GTE, Connor Seidel, as Monathan Guerin gets by him, and Seeley in the pits. The 72 is back in for his second stop of the race. 36.5 minutes to go, so you would think this has to be a full fuel stop. He'll need a full fuel cell to get to the end, and of course whatever we need to do past zero. Meanwhile, back in GTE, Mark Sonnen with a 1 second gap over the sister Corvette of John Nielsen. The closest battle on the circuit right now. And Seeley on the jacks. He is taking rubber. So the race leader, Lars Watzek, now the only car who has not taken tires in LMP. And is that the race-winning strategy? Because the race leader in GTE is also the only car not to take tires today so far. Seeley off the jacks and making his way down pit road. There he comes. And if his strategy was to get track position, he's just come out behind a second place battle in GTE. On cold tires, so that's not going to help. He's going to have to be very, very careful. The LMP cars may be quicker, but the stewards will have a very dim view of an LMP car wiping out podium place cars on in the GTE class. So very careful as you see him down there. He gets by Nielsen. And we'll see what this does to the gap. It was 1 second. We'll see if Seeley coming through splits that apart or not. He'll get through very safely down the main straight, or down the back straight. And the gap has increased a little bit. Now showing as a 2 second gap between Sonnen and Nielsen. Whoa, as the overall race leader is coming through as well. Monathan Guerin is back in the pits. This is his second stop, so that's okay. That makes sense. I saw the 3, but I got faked out. He did start from pit road. We went through that. Pay attention. And so this has been his final stop as well. And tires again for the 77, or for the 777. Although a short pit stop due on fuel and tires, isn't it? Only stopped for 34.9 seconds. That's an odd one. You're looking at Mark Sonnen in the number 3 Corvette, second place, trying to stretch his gap over Nielsen, John Nielsen, who has now dropped 4 seconds back. As the race leaders are together again. The last time we saw them, they were passing, just coming onto the main straight. It's funny how these guys are catching each other at the same places on the circuit. Those of you just joining us, this is the second exhibition round for the Night Racing League Sports Car Championship. It's an 8-race A-license sports car championship for mid-split drivers. Why should aliens and top splits have all the fun? They're on all the race broadcasts. This series specifically put together for the heart of the sports car drivers on iRacing. Low incident limits. You can see how the quality of driving from all of these cars. If you have an A license or a mid-split driver from 1300 to 3000 I rating, come and join us in what will be the best sports car series on iRacing. All the races broadcast here on the Night Racing League YouTube channel. Races are Saturdays at 1600 UTC, and the broadcasts, just like this one, the following day, Sundays at 1700 UTC. Subscribe to the channel and watch all the action. But what we would really love is for you to come and join the action. We have lots of grid slots available. We want to have a 50-car grid, 18 LMPs, and 32 GTEs. Currently 20 drivers signed up. Not all here today, obviously, for an exhibition race. But in 2 weeks' time at Silverstone, when the Points Championship kicks off in earnest, we hope to have a mighty field in both classes come and be on the grid. PM the administrators or myself on iRacing, but the easiest way is, of course, just go to the league section, search Night. The Night Racing League will pop right up, and apply to join us. Races start in 2 weeks, Saturday 31st of October at Silverstone, 1600 for those of you in North America. That is noon Eastern. We'll put the schedule up for you here as we have a half an hour to go in this race. There is the schedule for the series. It's an 8-race championship, 7 races for the LMP2 cars, and a special, you see round 4B, a special GT-only race at Mid-Ohio. Really looking forward to that one, where the GTE cars will get to race without the LMPs coming up behind them. So they get an 8-race championship. You can see 90-minute and 2-hour races. We hope you'll come and join us as race leader Lars Watzik takes the 31 LMP2 Dallara P217 into lap number 40. He has a 17-second lead over Keith Rainey, and you can see has found himself in the tow. There is Rainey. If we go back to the 31 car, he's got himself in the tow of the 72 of Paul Seeley. The alternate strategy, Seeley is good to go. You can see he is, he's got 2 pit stops, but running 1 minute and 30 seconds behind the race leader, who is right behind him. And we'll just watch that gap. If Lars wants to get by and put the Canadian a lap down, even with a tire stop, that strategy is not going to leapfrog the Canadian up into the race lead. So, not sure it's working out today for him. He's in 4th. We'll have to wait. He's boy, it's a 40-second gap to Ellico. 43 to be fair. And Rainey even further up the road. I mean, he is really smoking. Keith Rainey, in fact, with the fast lap of the race, he took tires on his first pit stop. And he's done a 130.651. There is Rainey now and just down the front straight, although that lap wasn't particularly clever. May have been some back markers involved. But a 30.651, that is the fastest lap of the race, and by quite a margin over the next fastest by Lars Watzik, a 131.298. That was the fast lap marker for quite a while. But with the fresh tires in here on stint number 2, Rainey is putting them down, and I think that is clearly... He's 18 seconds behind Watzik, and he didn't pull any time in on the last lap, but I think that maybe have been because of traffic. We'll wait and see when they come around again, as Monathan Guerin goes by Sonnen there. That battle for second in GTE has opened up again. Sonnen got his tires warmed up, and it's now almost 6 seconds, about 5.5 seconds from the 3 car to the 54. This is the guy who might be in trouble here. Ellico and Seeley have been very, very close all race. And it may come down to whether Ellico takes tires or not, although I think he's got the gap to do it. Seeley has not been particularly fast since he put on the fresh rubber. He's still in the low 32s. As Watzik looks very content to just sit behind him. The car's running 2 full fuel runs, and it looks to be the top 3 in LMP. As, hey, there's a novel place. It's a different place in the circuit for Ellico to come up on Sonnen, and gets by him onto the front straightaway. There's the gap you can see all the way back to Nielsen. Whoop, picked up the pace car by accident. There's Nielsen. That gap now, well, it's 4 seconds. It came down a little bit with the LMPs going by. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what Ellico does on this pit stop. He has a 41-second lead over Paul Seeley, who is good to go and has fresh rubber, although, as we say, not particularly using it. Ellico had traffic the last lap, but we'll see. It was 32.4 for Seeley, a 33.7 for Ellico last time around. Your fast laps of the race are only a 10th apart. In fact, Seeley a 10th quicker, a 31.5 to a 31.6. So great to have Mark in the series. Contacted us and joined up this week. There's a lot of love for the Sonnen family at the Night Racing League, of course, with Julian, one of the original members from 2 years ago when we started all this, on another sim and on another platform. We've evolved quite a lot in the last 2 years. But when we all came over to iRacing a year ago, of course, the Night Racing Gold team, Julian Sonnen, Raphael Boldebal, Paul Seeley. It really started with Julian and Paul and the 12 Hours of Sebring, of course, their first EILMS race win. That was at Silverstone, of course, and then third place in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. A lot of great memories and a lot of good racing. And Julian has moved on. He is a 7K I-rated driver now. I hope I haven't misquoted that. I don't know what's happened in the last little while, but he's one of those drivers that aren't in this series because this is a mid-split series, but it's great to have Mark with us. And showing himself very well here today with a second place run in the exhibition race. And one of those drivers with special dispensation. I mean, here I am over the past, and this is an A license series. We've said that up front. Mark, however, is the only driver in the field without an A license. He has history with the league. We know how he drives, and he was more than welcome to come. And that could also happen to you if you're a very high-level B license driver. If you've got a great safety rating, if your race history shows that you know what you're doing, we will certainly get you into some race lobbies and get you in the field. The entry qualifications are strict, but they can be bent if you want to make it into this series. Contact me with a PM or apply to the league. Those of you who apply to the league outside of the entry qualifications, you will be contacted by the league, and we'll work out whether or not it's right for you. But we're going to have a 50-car grid here, and we want all the good drivers we can get. Lars Watzik in the 31. As Keith Rainey has made it into the pits. There he is. And we will watch. I think he can afford to take tires. Down the front straightaway goes Ellico, so he's going to move temporarily into second place. No tires. We didn't expect it. The pit stop may be a little earlier than we thought. Maybe not. About 8 laps. Yeah, it's about right. Maybe a touch earlier. Ellico certainly can go further, and they pitted together 1 lap later than Watzik did on the original round of stops. So Ellico's strategy now cemented. It is 2 full fuel runs with tires on the first stop. This is Lars Watzik, who has... You could be on the same... No, he's not on the same strategy. He did not take tires on his first stop. So is he taking tires on the second one? I think that would... You can see it was 1:10 on pit road. That would put Ellico... Rainey into the lead, I believe. Is 1:01 back. Boy, it would be close, wouldn't it? Got temporarily blindsided there by Ellico up in second. I was trying to do the math on the gaps there, but of course it is Rainey to Watzik. That's the race we're watching. It would be very, very close if Watzik takes tires, which you have to imagine he has to. How bad could those tires be on 2 full fuel runs? There is Seeley just in front of him, who is on fresh tires and really racing against Dean Ellico in 3rd place. Lost another half a second to Ellico on that last lap. So does Ellico take tires? That's the question. It's still a 41-second gap between the two as they continue to turn very similar lap times. 32.2 for Ellico that time around. A 31.9 for Seeley. So we haven't seen a lot of that as he comes up on traffic into turn 1. That's Nielsen in front of him. And that is going to slow him down a little bit. But he had finally put in a quicker lap than Ellico that last time by on lap 45. Watzik looks very content to just sit behind Seeley. Maybe conserving fuel, certainly conserving tires. And if he's doing that with only 17 minutes to go, does he just take his track position and try to make the full 90 minutes on the same rubber? In behind is Sonnen off the circuit. A big gaggle of LMPs coming through, and I think he's just maybe being a little too polite for his own good there, but everybody through safely, Sonnen off the circuit. As we watch coming around, when are these guys coming in? Botzik goes around again. Rainey already made his stop. Seely is good till the end. The front two have to drop back, and you know, Watzik stopped a lap before Ellico did. So he's got to be getting light on fuel here. It was 24 laps he did. He's just on lap 48 now. So you would think maybe he's coming in this time if he does the same. Rainey gets by Thompson. One minute, 59.2 seconds. You can see the lap times, a 32.5 for Watzik that time around, a 31.9 for Keith Rainey. Rainey is going to be leading this race. If the 31 takes tires, Keith Rainey is going to be leading this race. Although he doesn't have to take full fuel. Boy, oh boy, I keep going back in my head. Lap 48. It was 24 laps last time, and he's going around again. So, yeah, even less fuel will be going in that car. The gap is now under 59 seconds. He's obviously been saving fuel behind Seely. He's never really got up close to the Canadian. He's never made an attempt to pass him. And he's going at least an extra lap compared to his first stint. A short fuel only, and he will clearly still have the lead over Rainey. Here is that battle for second. Here, and Ellico is in from second place. Dean Ellico is in, so this is really the battle for third. And we will watch how close Paul Seely gets to him. 15 minutes remaining. We expect Watzik in at the end of this lap. Ellico makes it to his pit stop. A short fuel only. He took tires on the first stop. Seely now coming around to the last two corners. Ellico is still stopped in the pits. Now he's moving. Out on pit exit. There he is. And he will maintain third place. Seidel is in between himself and Seely. And behind there, Watzik is still not pitted. Running on lap 50. The race leader in GTE caught right in the middle of all of this. The gap from Ellico to Seely is 6 seconds. Rainey now back in second place. The gap down to 58.2. Watzik keeps it tucked in behind the M8 as they go onto the back straight. You have to think the race leader's coming in this time by now. 50 laps in the books. And yes, he makes the right-hand turn. Down to 80 kilometers an hour. And pushing very hard through the hairpin. As the gap comes down, what is Watzik doing? He's just now getting to his pits. It's a splash of fuel. We know that. There's only 12 minutes to go. I can't imagine he's taking tires. Revs are up. And away he goes. 11.6 seconds stopped. Rainey took 22 seconds of fuel when he stopped and took no tires. So it looks like the pit strategy battle is going to go to Lars Watzik here. Rainey's got the fastest lap. But Lars has the lead. 11 minutes to go in Barcelona. There is your race leader, still on the original tires. The only question now is, do we see a Lewis Hamilton with that left front tire? Can he make it all the way to the end? He's got 11 more minutes, plus coming around to the checkered flag. And it's a 26-second lead over Keith Rainey. The 6-second gap between this man, Dean Alico, and Paul Seeley is now started to open. 6.4 now. And there is the 5th place car, Jaden Monathan Guerin, in the 777, getting through what is a test session for him today. Started from pit road, and he's done well. He's running a lap down, but has kept the car clean. We have a race now. I was going to cut to the leader and do a rundown of the GTEs, but you can see it's a 1-second gap again. Race is back on for second in the GTE class. The Corvettes are together again. Everybody has made their pit stops. Everybody is good to go. And this is a straight out fight for the 2nd place in GTE. There we go, and on board as John Nielsen tries to reel in the Belgian, Mark Sonnen in number 3. Still watching the gaps in LMP2. This is the battle on the racetrack right now, as John Nielsen pulls in a little under braking here. You can see that's Keith Rainey coming up behind them, the 2nd place LMP2 car. How is that going to affect this? No pullover there. Both drivers on the racing line. Rainey gets by on the inside. He's going to get both cars at the same time, so that's not going to affect them at all. Sonnen does go a little wide, though. And they come onto the back straightaway. 0.6 of a second between them. And a cone. That must have been thrown back by Rainey, who was by just in front of them. Using every bit of the curb up in front is Sonnen. And he's on the inside. He's taken an 8X. The first one of the race with 6 minutes to go. And Mark Sonnen has to come to pit road. It is a low incident point race. We had one in Spa out of the entire field over 2 hours, and we've got one here in at Barcelona. Well, there you have it, and that is going to put John Nielsen into second place in the GTE class. Just under 6 minutes to go here. And we'll see what that brings up in the post-race debrief, because, of course, these are the exhibition races. We want to see all the rules play out. We want to see if this series is set up properly, exactly how everybody wants, before we go to Silverstone. And that will be interesting as Seeley goes by the Corvette back out on circuit. At the moment, the rules are 8X for your first. I mean, if you get a 4X, and we know Mark did, through no fault of his own earlier in the race, still leaves you 4 off tracks for the entire race. And, well, it leaves you 3 before you get the penalty. So that was the agreed upon level. And then after you have your drive-through, you get another 6X before you have to come down again. So we'll see if everybody agrees that that was a fair rule, if it needs to be tweaked for the season. The final rules will be decided on this week, and we'll lock everything in and head off to Silverstone for the first of 8 races in the Points Championship. That's a 19 seconds is what that cost Mark. Chris Thompson lap down, so no threat there from the 4th place car. As we're watching Jaden Manathan-Garin in the 777 coming up on the GTE race leader. Connor Seidel, who's had things pretty much his way today. It was a very good early battle with Kevin Hensel, as those two looked like they're probably going to be locked together for most of the season. But Kevin was having a little trouble with the rear of his car under braking, and it reached out and grabbed him on turn 1 about 11 laps in. The car went up. Here we are, turn 1. It went right over that right sleeping policeman as we're looking at it, and ripped the undercarriage off the car. Could not be fixed, and he has, you can see he's been in the pits for an hour and 6 minutes. So that deprived us of a battle for the lead here. Connor has driven perfectly as he did in Spa, and is going to go back-to-back here in the exhibition round. Up front, the first race in the Night Racing League for Lars Watzik, and he has also driven perfectly, and has to be said, astonishingly well, as he and Connor, the only 2 drivers in the field to be doing this race on 1 set of tires. And with all the talk ahead of time, people worried about track temperature and the wear rate on the left front tire, what a drive by Lars to get this car around, and he's got a 26-second lead. Of course, he saved that much by not changing tires, but you would think the lap times would come back and bite into some of that. Hasn't really. 26 and a half seconds. He does a 33.3 that last time around. Keith Rainey, 26.3 behind, is in the 32s, getting a second lap. But that's not going to be enough, as next time around, Lars Watzek will get the 1 to go signal. There is your race 1 exhibition winner in LMP2. That is Paul Seeley, the Canadian. Looking like he's going to have to settle for a 4th place. It was very, very tight in qualifying, but the best he could do was put it 5th on the grid. He's gained a spot. JF Godin, the other Canadian, not finishing the race, has a bit of a bug, said he wasn't feeling well and didn't want to be in the way of cars, so he pulled it off the circuit. We hope JF is feeling better, and we'll see him in 2 weeks' time. As this time by, the 31, 1 lap to go here at Barcelona. And the white flag comes out for Connor Seidel. I'm just now realizing it's been a Canadian sweep so far, although Lars is going to be... Whoa! And off the circuit. Don't touch those. That is the first mistake we've ever seen Connor make. But it's not going to affect his race as we head back up front. Catching another little toe here from Jaden Monathan-Garin. Punches a cone out of the way. And in his first race in the KRL, coming around to win at Barcelona, the number 31, Lars Watzek. Behind him, for another second place, the number 6 of Keith Rainey. What a season we're going to have in LMP2. Connor Seidel makes it around and will win the GTE. It's back-to-backs for the 23. Dean Ellico will round out your podium in the LMP2s, the 429. The strategy worked as Seeley in behind will take 4th. And this is John Nielsen. Welcome to the league. A podium, 2nd place finish for the American in his first run. A great drive. Clean all the way. And a well-earned 2nd place. A little bit of bad luck for Mark Sonnen as he will finish in 3rd. But a great debut drive. Those things tend to even themselves out. Mark comes across the line in 3rd place. So there's your race winner, the 31 of Lars Watzik. This is the way they finished up. You see Keith Rainey 20.9 seconds back. Dean Ellico and Paul Seeley rounding out the front lap. Jaden Manathan-Garin finishing a lap down. Connor Seidel winning in the GTE class. Says by a lap over John Nielsen. That's only because the leaders were in between the LMP2 leaders. Nielsen and Sonnen. Chris Thompson comes home in fourth. JF Godin and Kevin Hensel did not finish. And hello, and we're joined now by Lars Watzik, race winner in the LMP2 class. So how was your first race in the league?
Yeah, it was pretty nice. The race was pretty competitive, even though it were not that many drivers in the LMP2 class, but it was pretty interesting to drive. Yes, I like it.
The big story of this race is you took no tires. How did you do 90 minutes at Barcelona with no tires?
Yeah, I thought that will be nice. It will be fine because of the experience of the IELMS races. But yeah, the first stint was fine because the tires were fine. In the second stint at the start, I noticed that Keith was pretty fast. He took a second per lap on me. And then I started closing in on Paul, so I could use his slipstream to hold my lead. And his slipstream was pretty helpful because I could gain the lost time on the straight in his slipstream. And the third stint was pretty hard. The third stint I had a 25-second gap to Keith, and it was all about holding the car on the track and not to throw it away in the last few minutes.
I think that's the incredible thing about it, is that you had that lead and still managed to save the tires for the entire 90 minutes. That's an incredible feat. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
And we're joined here by the GTE winner, Connor Seidel. How you doing, Connor?
Pretty good. I'm surprised I made it through that one, to be honest.
What was your race like? What kind of strategy were you on?
I just did a one-stop. I didn't change the tires, so 40% on the left front at the end. A little bit scary, but seemed to work out well.
Wow, so both race winners in this race got through with no tire changes. That's amazing.
Hey, yeah, it's working out, but it's only a matter of time before I just send myself off. Driving with the tire wear that I had, it wasn't very fun.
Well, you got the job done, and that's back-to-back wins in the GTE class in both the exhibition races, so a job well done there. Hopefully it carries on into the series.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I'm hoping for the same.
Great. Well, a fantastic run, and you're going to have a lot more competition at the next race when everybody's on the grid.
Yeah, perfect. Hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun.
Connor Seidel, everybody, winner of the GT race here at Barcelona and at Spa-Francorchamps. So there you have it from our race winners. We'll see both of them in 2 weeks' time, along with the full field at Silverstone when we kick off the Points Championship for real. Here is your next race coming up in 2 weeks. We hope you join us then, and if you want to be a part of this championship, please contact us here at Night Racing. PM the administrators. You're going to see their names come up here in a second. If not, the easiest way is really to just go to the Night Racing League on the iRacing League section and apply. We will contact you and get you on the grid for what is going to be a fantastic series. A-level drivers. You could see the quality of driving here today. Mid-split I ratings to keep all the competition close. And it's really going to be a great series. Join us in 2 weeks for race number 1 at Silverstone. All races run Saturdays at noon, and we broadcast them right here on the Night Racing League channel. Sundays at 1700 UTC. So we hope you enjoyed the race here today, and we'll see you in 2 weeks in England.